Hey, what's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our monster movie madness marathon with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, which came out to digital today. We made it, guys. If you've been watching my channel, you know that I've been reviewing as many monster movies as I can get my hands on that feature Godzilla and King Kong, at least made domestically, in preparation to see Godzilla, King of the Monsters. You know what? I'm glad that I saw it. It's been a roller coaster ride of experiences, right? Because some movies were really good, some movies not so much, some really entertaining, some boring. It is a hodgepodge of experiences, and this movie could be anywhere on that spectrum. So I am glad that I went on this experience. Now, a lot of people have words about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Some good, but a lot bad. Basically saying it's mediocre. A lot of people have actually been warning me against watching this. Don't get your hopes up. Don't get your hopes. Avoid this one if you can. But I see movies and rate movies and rank movies differently than most other people do. And I try my best to explain why that is. With Godzilla, King of the Monsters, I can tell you that I did like it. It's nowhere near a perfect film. It's got a lot of problems. There's a lot of stuff going on in the movie that you kind of have to focus on. But at the same time, it does something very, very good that none of the other monster movies did. And that's huge to me. But before we get any further in this review, let's go ahead and talk about the plot of the film. What's it about? Well, Godzilla, he's back. But it's not just one monster, it's not just two, it's basically all of the monsters other than Kong. It's as if somebody opened Pandora's box and Godzilla has to fight everybody alone. Or is he alone? Because the humans now know he's a savior and want to help. That's the story in a nutshell. So obviously, I think this movie has more good associated with it than bad. So I'm going to start this review on the bad first because I want to end the review on a good note. What's the main negative in this film? The main negative is the fact that it is messy. It is convoluted. It is confusing. There's too many storylines happening at the same time. There's too many locations, too many characters, too many monsters, too many everything. And you're kind of forced to consider it all, to focus on it all in order to understand the story at hand. Now, when you are forced to consider everything that's happening, you are confused because you don't want it to be the case. You want it to be more simplistic. You just want a story to make sense. The story in this movie makes sense. There's just too much of it happening at the same time, and it could have easily been trimmed down a little bit. Another problem this movie focuses on is what every other critic will say is exposition. All of the human characters and their only reason for being is for exposition. At least that's what other critics say. I don't actually agree with that. There is a lot of exposition. That is absolutely true, and it affects my dialogue score negatively. That is not the only function the humans serve, and we'll get into that in a second. Just know that the main reason this movie didn't get a higher score is because of exposition and because it's convoluted. Now, there are a lot of other issues in this film that could have been done a little bit better that are neither great or bad, but those are the main negatives. But what about the main positives? What's the one thing in this movie that is done better than all of the other monster movies? Specifically, there's a reason the humans exist. They are trying to do something, and that's something the other movies have never really done before. They are not just sitting idly by and looking at the monsters, and they serve a function that is deeper than just exposition. I wish that I could delve a little bit deeper into that, but I can't because then I would be spoiling you. Just know that it has a lot to do with individual character importance, and that there's one character specifically in this movie that reminds me of Thanos and the way that he sees the world, and how if they are allowed to do what they want to do, it could create more damage than the monsters. The humans have their own problems. They have their own motivations. They have their own sense of morality and values. There is a lot of exposition, no doubt, but they are trying to do something specific with a specific plan of action, and none of the other movies had that. The closest movie that had that was maybe Kong Skull Island with a rescue mission, but rescue missions are weak. They are easy to just throw in a script without having any real depth or emotion to it. This was more fleshed out when it came down to what the humans specifically are trying to do. What else is good about this movie? Visuals. Oh my gosh, the visuals are incredibly beautiful. A spectacle. It's one of the best movies that I've seen this year, specifically when it comes down to visuals. Now, some of the monster sequences in the movie, you can cut out, you can make a loop of it, and then you can put it on your computer as a wallpaper or a screensaver because it's just kind of jaw-dropping to watch, actually. It's a spectacle. It really is. Also, the action in this movie is insane. People were complaining about not having enough of it in Godzilla. I don't really care that much as long as the movie makes sense, but there's a ton of it in this movie, and it is all very, very well done. I like the cast in this movie. It's nice to see Kyle Chandler again. He was in King Kong in 2005. I've always been a a fan of his in general. Maybe I'm biased in that fact, but he is a good actor. And so is everybody else in this movie. We have Game of Thrones actors. We have other people from other Oscar-nominated and award-winning shows, award-winning movies. The talent in this film is fantastic. It's wonderful. It's nothing Oscar-worthy. Nobody's going to be winning awards for best acting in this movie, but they all do a good job from beginning to end. And the character displays from the humans to especially the monsters is very memorable. The monsters are very, very memorable, and they should. They are classic Godzilla monsters. I mean, look, the movie's long. It's almost 2.5 hours long. And sometimes you do feel the length of the movie at times because it's so convoluted. But I think you can consistently feel like you'll miss something if you look away at the same time, which makes it engaging and riveting enough to enjoy. It is 100% an enjoyable monster movie. And like I said, I like how they utilize the human characters in this movie more so than any of the other monster movies that I've watched in this Monster Movie Madness Marathon. Then again, my score can change in a few years. It did for Godzilla 2014. I don't know, guys. I scored this movie 79 out of 100 possible stars, 79%. If you're wondering where I rank this in my 2019 movie scores, 11th place. If you're wondering where I rank this in my MonsterVerse movie scores, it's in first place. It's also in first place as the best Godzilla film overall, which means it's the best Godzilla film in this specific franchise. The only place where it's not first place in is in my Monster Movie Madness Marathon. In my Monster Movie Madness Marathon, I have King Kong rated as the best and this in second place. I believe in general, once you average all the scores up for MonsterVerse, I have it scored at 74%. Marathon score is 72%. When you look at all the Godzilla films, including 2014 and 1998, it's 68% once all averaged up. And this franchise specifically, with just 2014 and King of the Monsters, it is 73%. Not that you care. Guys, tell me what you thought of Godzilla King of the Monsters in the comments down below. Did you like it? Are you a fan of monster movies? As for YouTube, you know what to do. Subscribe to me, hit that like button, and hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!